In this video, we're going to discuss the dichotomy of control. This lesson was inspired by Epictetus, the author of a book called Discourses and Selected Writings, the Penguin Classics version. So I'll briefly talk about Epictetus. Who was Epictetus? This is similar to what he looks like, but very old. Okay, born around 50 AD and died in 135 AD at the age of 85. His name, Epictetus, in Greek translates as gained or acquired, and this is how we know that he was a slave. Now, after philosophers were banned from Rome, he moved to Epirus, Greece, where he founded a school of philosophy. And it's also interesting, it's been said that he wrote nothing down, that the texts that we have today were because of a student, his most famous student, Arian, who took down notes for himself. And even Marcus Aurelius, if you know who that is, was influenced by Epictetus and even cites him in Meditations. Dichotomy of Control notes. We tend to get angry or emotional because we place a high value on things that can be taken away. He also said that nobody in constant fear or anxiety or worry is free. So our body might be free. We can walk around, travel country to country and do that. But in the mind, you are not free, says Epictetus, if you are in constant fear and anxiety and worry. He also says to challenge every impression, in other words, to put it to the test. So basically, don't take something at face value, analyze it, think about it, and don't just take it for what you think it is or what it might appear to be. The more we value things outside of our control, the less control we have. We aren't harmed unless we choose to be harmed. Marcus Aurelius also talks about that in Meditations. He basically said that I am only harmed if I choose to be. Like, you are complicit in the offense. If somebody offends you and you feel offended, that means you chose to be offended. Marcus Aurelius also in Meditations told himself that you don't have to turn this into something. It doesn't have to upset you. Epictetus also says to be indifferent to what is not within your control. So here we have a simple T-chart. And so according to Epictetus, we can go over a couple of things that he said about what we can control and what we cannot control. So what we can control, according to Epictetus, is our judgment, our impulses, our desires, and our mental faculties. Basically, our thoughts, how we think, and stuff like that. And he also says what we cannot control is our body, material possessions, and our reputation and status. Now, at first, this might seem a little difficult, right? Well, what do you mean I can't control my body? I can go to the gym and lose weight or gain weight by eating the wrong things and being lazy. That's true. But I think what he means is more so, because remember, this was 2,000 years ago. This was like Roman Empire days, okay? So I think he more so means like how you look, whether you were born a guy or a girl, what your hair color was or what your eye colors were, if you had certain face features and stuff like that. I think that's what he meant by you don't control what you look like in that sense. Some people were handsome or beautiful and other people were considered, not handsome and stuff like that. So that's what I believe that he means. And as far as reputation and status goes, sure, you can, I think, control it to some degree, but you really can't control what other people say. So if people are spreading lies about you and stuff like that, ruining your reputation or ruining your status, that's happened to me a lot over the years and stuff like that. I can't control that. So your status, your reputation technically is not under your control. When it comes to trading, here are some things that we can control and some things that we cannot. So on the side that we can control, we can choose our position size. We can choose whether we go long or short, what asset we want to trade, Forex, futures, stocks, commodities, options, whatever the case. We can choose what type of analysis we want to do, technical analysis, fundamental analysis, the different concepts that we talk about, teach, and trade with, and stuff like that. We can also choose the price levels that we want for our entry, our exit, and our stop loss prices. We can choose how long we stay in a trade. We can hold a trade or we can get out of it. We can decide when to trade or not. If you don't want to trade today, you don't have to. If you want to place the trade, if the market is open, then you can. And then also your decision making, which for me is really more so what I mean by that is, taking partials and all those other things. Like everything on this list is what you control. So like, say, for example, if someone has a bias, you decide if you want to align with that or not. So that's up to you. That's your decision. So there are quite a number of things that we have control over in our trading. So what's equally important is what we cannot control. So what are some of those things? The market movements, right? We don't control the market. We know who does, right? And we get in alignment with that, but we are not the ones physically moving the markets. Spread as well. Brokers control spread. So you don't really have any say over that. Slippage, you don't have any say over that as well. Your broker can choose to slip you more than other brokers and stuff like that. So definitely not in your control. And here's another thing too, your emotions, right? You cannot control your emotions. But if you compare emotions to decision making, okay, this is kind of the reason that I put this in here. So emotions, we have them as humans. We have them. Unless you don't, then you're, likely a psychopath, or you have some type of, mental issues. Okay. But you control the decision making. So let's say you're mad and you want to revenge trade. Well, you placing that trade is your decision, but you could be mad and want to revenge trade, but instead not put on a trade or log out, walk away, whatever that may be. So again, we don't control our emotions, but we control what we do about those emotions. So that's essentially the comparison with that. We don't control our emotions, but we do control our decision making. Here's what I think. We control what we say and how we say it, but what we cannot control is what other people hear or what they interpret. So you might say something, but they might hear it a certain way, or they might interpret it a certain way. And that could lead to arguments and disagreements and stuff like that. But you can't control that. We also can control how we act, but we can't control how other people act. We can't force them to do something that they don't want to do. We can control how we react or how we respond to a situation or an impression, but we cannot control how other people react or how they choose to respond. We can also control the process, but we cannot control the outcome. We can follow our rules. We can focus on the process and the steps to get to the outcome that we want, but the actual outcome is not up to us. If I put on a trade, the outcome, I don't control that. It's either going to be a loser or a break even or a winning trade. In either way, I don't control that, only the process. And it's the same with anything else. You can start a business, you can have your business plan and all that, but you can't control if you're going to have a successful business or not. Dichotomy of control exercise. Create your own T-chart comparison. List out what you can control and what you cannot control. Focus on what you can and don't put importance on what you cannot. This takes practice and time to implement in your life, so practice often. And as mentioned earlier, for more insight from Epictetus, the book title is called Discourses and Selected Writings, the Penguin Classics version.